Hi music lovers, I've decided to try and change things a little, add to my music channel with a new sort of segment. It's probably going to be once a month, and I'm going to select a few moments, possibly as many as 5 moments in music that has taken some of my time, my precious time, in the last few weeks, and there of course are of a musical ilk, so we won't be talking about elections or anything like that, and they will cover basically the time that I've been on this earth, and I will try and mix up the recent with the not so recent, and you'll get a gist of what's been taking up my time, what I consider to be of value, and it may point you in that direction. So I don't expect you to enjoy all of the content on here, but maybe there might be one element that you think, oh well, I'll check that one out. Okay, so it's a bit of a sort of magazine type, bit reminding me very much of the music papers that I used to dive into with relish when I was a teenager to find out all I wanted to know about what was happening in music. So I hope it's got a sort of a feeling similar to that for you. So we're going to start off this first new segment, and I'm going to look at a song that I put on the other day, and I hadn't heard it for ages, and I thought I'd have a little say about it. It's way back there in 1967. I was 13 years of age, and this song was frequently coming out of the radio on a daily basis, and it was called Flowers in the Rain by The Move. Very much a psychedelic pop song. It was their debut, and it hit the album Move in 1968 after first being released as a single. A little bit about The Move if you don't know them. At their early and outset, they had a number of vocalists, namely Carl Wayne, who was the lead vocals, and Roy Wood also sang lead and backing vocals and played all the guitars, not all of them but most of them, and he tended to write the songs. They also had Trevor Burton on guitars, who was also involved in vocals. Ace Kefford played the bass, and Bev Bevan was on drums. Significantly, they also had a sort of 6th member who added strings and was involved heavily in the production, and that was one Tony Visconti, who many of you will know was actively involved in the early career of one David Bowie. Anyway, this particular single, a promotional stunt for the record by the manager Tony Secunda, got The Move in very hot water. He apparently put together a postcard which was released with a cartoon promoting the song, and on that was a naked Harold Wilson, who was a prime minister of the day, and at that particular time there was this little scandal going around about him and his secretary Marsha Williams, and on the cartoon one Harold was completely stark naked. However, the story to continue, Wilson sued the band, and the High Court ordered all the royalties from this song to be donated to a charity of Wilson's choice. And ironically, that legal arrangement still remains in force to this day. And so, although it was a huge success, this song, reaching #2 in the charts in 1967, the band didn't earn 1 penny from it. And it was also the song that took its place in pop history as being the first record to be played on BBC Radio 1 when the station was launched in September 1967. So there we are. a bit of pop trivia for you. It was the last single by The Move to have Carl Wayne on lead vocals. After that, Roy took over, and he also sang on the other hit on their album, Fire Brigade. It's got a distinctive instrumental arrangement and includes both oboe, clarinet and cor anglais and French horn on it, which was indicative of where the Move's music would be moving to. And as I said, Visconti was the producer. I want to just give a little bit of extract to the lyric. It's a tremendous song, and here's a bit of an extract of the lyric, written by Wood, of course. Woke up one morning half asleep with all my blankets in a heap and yellow roses scattered all around. The time was still approaching, for I couldn't stand it anymore. No saw miracles upon thy eider down. I'm just sitting watching flowers in the rain. Feel the power of the rain making the garden grow. I'm just sitting watching flowers in the rain. Feel the power of the rain keeping me cool. And as you probably would suspect, there was a heavy link to drug taking, psychedelia and LSD with this single. Whether that's true or not, we really need to ask the author, Roy Wood. But anyway, that's my first snippet from this segment. Moving on, I want to refer to two audiobooks that I've been involved in listening to over the last month. The first one is called How Music Works, and it's written by David Byrne, the lead singer of the Talking Heads and now a solo artist in his own right. This is a lengthy audio book. It isn't read by Byrne, it's read by somebody else, but it's basically about, I'm going to go through and give you a little snippet really. It really presents a celebration of music that offers insight into the roles of time, place and recording technology, and discusses how evolutionary patterns of adaptations and responses to cultural and physical context have been influenced by music expression throughout history, and culminated in the 20th century transformative practices. So the audiobook covers creation in reverse a little bit, Byrne's life in performance, which is absolutely fascinating as he goes through how he gravitated to creating a band, the band being Talking Heads, who of course started recording in 1977. He then looks at technology and how it's shaped music both in analog and digital form. We then get taken into the recording process and look at that. He discusses at length the collaborations that he was involved in post Talking Heads, and particularly with Brian Eno and others. And then he looks at the financial implications of wanting to be a musician, the business side of it, which is absolutely fascinating. And then he moves on to how to make an impact, a scene, and he talks about amateurs in music and the harmony of music. It's absolutely, I can thoroughly recommend it. You can be assured that you would be gripped to this, listening to his ideas about the whole concept of music, and you will be able to reflect on that with regard to why you like music and what your level of involvement is on music. So I can thoroughly recommend it. I'm going to add a link to the presentation to the two books on YouTube, part 1 and 2. Allow yourself about 7 hours to get through this. You know, this is a big project, but I think you will be pleasantly surprised and really appreciative by the time you get to the end of it. So how music works, by David Byrne. Moving on then, I'd like now to share with you a lot of time that I've recently been giving to another audiobook, and this book is probably one you have heard of. It's by Bruce Springsteen and it's called Born to Run, and it took him about 7 years to put this together, and he's devoted himself really to writing about the story of his life, and it brings to life the sort of honesty, humour and originality found in his songs. Describes growing up as a Catholic in Freehold, New Jersey, amid the poetry, danger and darkness that fueled his imagination, leading to the moment he refers to as the Big Bang, seeing Elvis Presley on the Ed Sullivan show. He was born in 1949. He vividly recounts his relentless drive to become a musician, his early days as a bar band king in Asbury Park, New Jersey, the rise of the E Street Band, and he's very honest about the whole 9 yards, really, disarming candour, and he tells for the first time the story of the personal struggles that inspired his best work, and shows us why the song Born to Run reveals more than we previously realised. The contents of this audiobook, which is a huge 16 hours, I've actually completed about 6 so far, and I've got up to the point where Born to Run has just been released. He describes growing up on the street, in his house, the impact of the Catholic Church, the Italians and the Irish in his family. His father was from the Irish immigrant fraternity, and his mother from the Italian. Absolutely fascinating. He talks a lot about his mother, the early influence of music, the radio, Elvis, of course, and then we start going through his bands, including Steve Mill, who I was familiar with but not in great detail. We then look at band members, how he met Vinny Lopez, who appeared on drums for the first two albums, Stevie Van Zandt, and we've now crossed paths with how he come to meet Clarence Clemens, Davy Sanchez on organ, Gary Talent on bass. It's a marvellous listen. If you're a fan of Bruce Springsteen, you will absolutely be delighted at listening to this. It really is an eye-opener, and it made me fall in love really with him once again. What a man, what an artist, what a musician. And as I said, I've gone through him finally getting a recording contract with Columbia Records as a result of meeting my appel. He's still in Bruce's Goods books at the stage that I've got to. We then hear him recall that interview in that office in Columbia Records, and then him appearing with his first collection of songs for Greetings from Asbury Park, and the powers that be basically saying, well, we thought you were a folk singer, what's all this? And then the recording, of course, requiring a full band, which came as a shock to Apple, and then him being told, where are the hits? And him rushing off down to the beach area and writing Blinded by the Light and Spirit in the Night very quickly to appease the record producers and the recording management, because he was so overjoyed at getting a break. And I've just now moved on to him recalling the second album, The Wild, the Innocent and the East Trouble, and the beginnings of him changing his style of music, and the birth of the third album, Born to Run. I can't tell you anything about the second half because I haven't got there yet, but I'm sure it's going to be a tumultuous journey. And I really, if you have got any desire, any interest in this artist, I suggest you get along and find it on the internet and sit down and listen to the man. The storytelling is unbelievably gripping, and I don't want to spoil it for you, but I can tell you there are stories that will make you weep. They will make you be filled with joy. You will be inspired by them. It's a motivational life story, and I would suggest you get to watch it and listen to it. It's called Born to Run, and it's by Bruce Springsteen. Okay, I've got, after all that, on the fly most of that, it has to be said. I've got a few notes on the next one that I want to talk about. This is an album that I going back as I do, because so much material that I haven't listened to. I was fortunate to land on an album by Janelle Monáe in 2013 called The Electric Lady. This followed me listening to her latest album, which is a 2019 effort called Dirty Computer. But I sought out this Electric Lady, and I have to basically say that yes, I do love black female singers, black music, really, all of it, and particularly female R&B singers. Although I have to confess, I don't have a great knowledge of the singers that adorned our radios and music waves in the since the turn of the millennium. I'm pretty familiar with the late 60s and early 70s soul divas, but not these new brand. And it was with absolute delight that I sat down and listened to Janelle Monáe's second album. It's based on a film of the same title, a fictional tale by Cindy Mayweather, and it's about a messianic android sent back in time to free the citizens of Metropolis. And the songs do reflect that, although it does incorporate the influence of hip-hop, soul, funk, gospel. There's a tad of jazz thrown in, rock music, pop and reggae. She covers all the bases, and there's some guest appearances that are worth noting. One, Miguel, is on one track and he's absolutely fantastic, and the Purple Man, Prince, appears on a couple of tracks, as does Solange. She's Beyonce's sister, by the way, and the jazz diva Esperanza Spalding is also involved. It's difficult for me to describe the tracks on the cuff here, but I have to say I was really taken in by the quality of this music, particularly the title track, which is a funky soul effort featuring Solange with some great horns. And the harmonies are truly electric, and the lead vocal by Janelle, almost frantic like. And then there's this up-tempo disco orientated track called We Were Rock and Roll, which brought back lots of memories of the Bee Gees' Saturday Night Fever, various artists, where the Disco Infernal by Walter Carlos, that you might remember. And it is also got hints of Michael Jackson's up-tempo rock blues type numbers, and it's absolutely fantastic. And I've played it now about 4 or 5 times, and I really do recommend you give it a listen. It does help if you do like some African American R&B, but this girl, she knows what she's doing, and she is a very, very high quality performer. So again, the 2013 album Electric Lady by Janelle Monáe. Right, to close out this first of my magazine shows, the other day I was playing around on YouTube, really didn't know what I was going to do, and then all of a sudden they popped up with this thumbnail, and I looked closely, and it was a picture of Stephen Stills in the early 70s, and it actually wasn't something that I didn't know. I've got this on my computer somewhere, but this was a live recording, a series of tracks that Stephen and his band Manassas did for Beat Club in 1972. Now, if you don't know about Beat Club, it was a German TV magazine show that was around in at the late 60s, mid 60s to early 70s, and it had a German host, a very attractive young girl, and also had contributions from DJs from the UK, and all this live material was available for them, and some of the performances were out of this world, and I have got quite a number of them. They highlighted a lot of progressive rock music on the show, and amidst with up and coming pop heroes, and also reflected back on the huge acts like the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, the Who, etc., etc. But anyway, this was a thumbnail of Manassas, and so I clicked on it. And if you aren't familiar with the Manassas, this was a project that Stephen Stills got together with one Chris Hillman and Dallas Taylor. The band included Joe Lala on for percussion, Dallas Taylor on drums, one Fuzzy Samuel on bass guitar, Chris Hillman on various guitars, Al Perkins on guitar and pedal steel guitar, and Paul Harris on keyboards. And they put together 2 albums at the beginning of the 70s, and the first one, Manassas, was a double set, which I have, which is possibly, as far as I'm concerned, possibly the greatest double album of studio material out there. And anyway, this live set, I'm going to pick this one track, which was called The Treasure, which was on the 3rd side, I believe, of this double album set. The Manassas allocated one side for one style of music. So we had a blues side, we had a folk rock side, we had a country rock side, and then we had a sort of rocky Latino flavored side. And you really must get to listen to that album. But this track on YouTube was called The Treasure, and it's a 9-minute piece of awesome rock rhythm with absolutely outstanding guitar by Stills, including a lot of wah-wah pedal, and he's sort of duetting on guitar with Perkins, who's playing pedal steel, and it is one of the greatest piece of live material that you're ever likely to see. And I'm going to put the link down here, and surely you must go and listen to and watch this performance, because it is out of this world. Stephen Stills and Manassas, The Treasure. Okay, so that about clears up my first magazine show. I'm not quite sure how long it's been. It looks like about 20 minutes. It reflects on how easy it is to talk about great music. The next one I'm going to do, which will probably be in about a month, I'm going to dip into 2020 music, I'll probably come up with a best of for you, but I will particularly focus on two albums that have recently arrived in my ears. That is the latest Bruce Springsteen album, Letter for You, which was released about a month ago, and the latest album by Elvis Costello, released about 2 weeks ago, called My Clock Face. So I will be talking about those two albums, and I will also be reflecting on a documentary that I watched on YouTube involving one Bruce Johnson, who was the lead singer with AC/DC, who did a series of TV programs about life on the road. And this one is when he goes to meet fellow Geordie Mark Knopfler of Dire Straits fame. And I want to talk about that because it's a great piece of work. And I'll also be describing my love affair with the first venue that I fell in love with when my journey into rock music began way back in 1969, and possibly one other item which I haven't decided on yet. If there's something that you might fancy me covering, do put them in the comments. If I've got some insight into it, I will give it a go. This is a magazine type program of music. It's basically for you, and it's something that I enjoy doing. So thanks for watching, and we'll hear from you again soon.